Hold on. Welcome to another SENsible SENCO chat. Today, we are going to be talking about motion.
Motion in the ocean on a Saturday night. Okay.
We've already recorded this once.
I didn't sing.
I failed miserably. She did try to sing, and we'll stick that at the end of this piece here. But you'll hear that the audio went a bit weird. So we're having to record it again. Completely my fault, because I didn't listen to it properly. Yeah, completely my fault. So today we're going to be talking about motion. We're going to be talking about how that can really, really help you as a SENCO. And Abigail's going to take you through a few ways that you can use motion to enhance the way that you are working and give you a better work-life balance.
Well, that only works if they kind of load up motion and then go, ain't doing it.
Ain't doing it, ain't got time.
Ain't doing it.
Oh, and now I'm going to disappear and Abigail's going to do a screen share. Bye!
Brilliant. So you should be able to see my screen, and on my screen I have got motion open. I have got it on dark view. There is an option to have it on light view as well. I've only got it on dark view because it actually looks easier to see the colours for this particular thing. The reason I like motion is because I can add multiple calendars to it. Now, look, there are actually lots and lots of different scheduling software pieces out there, but the majority of them only let you add one Outlook account. And I have, at the last count, about 16 different Outlook accounts because I work for different companies, different schools, different multi-academy trusts, two of which are my official paid roles, and then others perhaps where I'm a governor or where I'm on their interim payroll or something. And all of those have their own protocols involved. So trying to share calendars across them is an absolute nightmare. When somebody phones you up and says, can you do this for me on this day? I'm having to go to thousands of places to go and find out whether I can do it. Now, Motion lets me pull it all into one place, but not only that, I can then send it back out from Motion to most of those. I say most, you can actually see three different colours on my screen. You can see this burnt orange colour, a kind of dark blue and a purplish colour. As you can probably guess, the purplish colour is SENCO Solutions or SENsible SENCO. It's my branding, it's my colour. So that's going into my main calendar. The blue one is actually United Learning because I do a lot of work for their multi-academy trust and I teach their apprenticeship programme, and their theme is blue, their logo is blue, so I have that one in as blue. And then I have TES. If you notice, this one here just says private appointment. So TES I work for 1 day a week, the equivalent of, and that one's the burnt orange colour because one of their logos is burnt orange. The interesting thing here is United Learning will let me share the calendars in both directions, whereas TES, I can only copy the information from my TES calendar into my Motion calendar. I can't send it back the other way, but it is still better than having to go to multiple places to get information. So, how does this work? That's a good question. How does it work and what are we using it for? It isn't just a calendar. Let's just start by saying that. Yes, it looks like a calendar. I have actually got a tasks list on this right-hand side here. I don't think there's anything on my screen that I'm concerned about anybody seeing, which is why I'm quite happy with this one coming up. But I've got my task list over on the right-hand side. I can actually scroll down. You can see lots and lots of things going on there. I can also click on projects up at the top here, and you will see all of my projects that I have got going at the moment, and yes, there are a lot of them. You'll also see some down here, so some of them I've said to it don't bother scheduling it. Some of them I've kind of looked at it and gone put it in the backlog because I need to do something else with this, or I'm waiting on a piece of information, so don't schedule it for me. These ones I'll talk about in a moment because that wonderful AI symbol is coming up, and I'll explain why that one's there. So you can see here I've got even future deadlines lurking in here. So I've actually got the June blogs that I need to write. The deadline for doing that is May 31st. The July blogs, June 30th. And I'm going to deliver a conference in Cardiff, which is actually October the 4th. And I've set the deadline as September the 20th. The way I actually work with deadlines for inset days and presentations and anything that I've got to do is I actually set my personal deadline in here 2 weeks before that is actually due. That means that I know that it's going to definitely be ready in time, and that I can just, learn that information, I can recheck it, I can make any final tweaks, and that I'm not panicking in that last 2 weeks run up to things. So in this task list here, then I've entered all of my tasks into it. I say when it's due, so this one was due as soon as possible. You can actually see the ones I've completed as well, they're lurking on there as well at the moment. You can see the start date, so that could be the day that you enter it. You might want to start it straight away, you're feeling eager and enthusiastic, or you can set it for a date in the future, which is what you see on some of these down here. You will see I'm saying don't start this until April the 18th. There is actually a reason for that. I can't actually start writing the review of that one until I've actually done the visit. You will see you can put a priority on it, so ASAP or high priority or medium priority or low priority. I think that's how these are sorted at the moment, which is why it's coming up in that order. You can tell it how long you want, so these ones here, these are the ones that say 16 hours are actually to do with my degree that I'm doing. So I've got an assignment that's due in and I'm allocating myself 16 hours to do that. I am not going to do 16 hours in one go. Yes, I like working on one topic at a time, but there's no way I'm going to do 16 hours in one go. And the program's actually quite intuitive. It will work out chunks of time for me. So I'll show you that in a moment as well. This one here is actually finished. It's completed now. In fact, so is that one. But it was a training that I was doing. It was a 3.5 hour training session online live with 30 odd people, and I knew that I needed to put quite a bit of effort into actually making sure that content was right, but it also included my learning time because I had to go back and refresh my knowledge on exam access arrangements. I would say I'm fairly up to date with it, but I do need to check things sometimes. You see here as well, there's this thing called blockers. So there's I don't use it very often, but it is there for this particular one. In this particular case, I've got a number of different assignments that are due for my university project, and I can't do TMA 04 until I finish my CMA and TMA 1 to 3. And in this case, I can't do TMA 05 until I've done TMA 04. So you can actually tell it stop doing, don't schedule this until I've completed these ones, until I've clicked that completed button. So that's really useful for something like planning your annual reviews. You know what needs to go in place. You know you need to send out that report 2 weeks beforehand. You know that you've got to invite people. You probably want to do that about 4 weeks beforehand. You know that you're going to have to gather information from staff. You probably want to do that 3 weeks beforehand. But there are certain things that will block other things from happening. So negotiating with the parents, a good date to actually hold it, has to take place before any of those things can happen. So you can put those blockers in, and until that one is actually resolved, it won't plan it for you, which is absolutely amazing. It's brilliant, it's great, and it means you don't forget the next steps, because I don't know about you, that is the thing that I tend to forget sometimes. Project basically is just where do you want to shove it, which workspace do you want to throw it into, what project does it sit under, and then schedule is when do you want it to appear. Now I have an interesting schedule, and those of you who work across several schools may find this as well, and in fact those of you who are teaching SENCos may find this useful. So on a Monday, Tuesday and Wednesday between 8 AM and 2 PM I work for United Learning, and on a Monday I also then work for United Learning for a short period after I've picked the children up from school until usually about 5 o'clock, and I also work for them for an hour on a Saturday or a Sunday, depending where it fits for me best, where I send out my emails to my apprentices. So what I really don't want to happen is that any of my other tasks, like preparing for this conference over on the right hand side here, which is the LAC conference, I really don't want that to be scheduled in my United Learning time. I am actually on Monday the 4th at the moment. You can see this bar here, it's showing you it's just after 5 o'clock, and that's when we've started recording this video, and this is what I've done today. This came from my United Learning calendar. I've done a webinar this morning. I had a couple of tasks I had to do, one of which was pulling some data. I actually completed 2 tasks, which is what you can see ticked off at the top here. I collect the kids, which is a regular thing within my schedule, that's marked in there. I have actually done work in that very large gap there. It just wasn't one of the tasks that was allocated from this. I did actually do some cohort 4 marking, which is shifted over here, but I actually haven't ticked it off yet. So if I wanted to do that, I can just tick off that bit there, Did I complete the whole thing, or did I just do one chunk? Well, I only did one chunk, so complete, and it's showing that one as now complete. What it will then do is reshuffle some of that time for me. So that's what I'm trying to say in terms of schedule. So if I was a SENCO, like I say, working across multiple schools, maybe I'm in school A on a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and I'm in a school B on Thursday, Friday, I could actually block it so only the tasks relevant to school A happen on a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and only the tasks relevant to school B happen on a Thursday and Friday. But what happens when you've got something really, really important that you've got to hit the deadline, and you know that if you don't do it, let's say on the Monday, it isn't going to get done in time for the deadline? Well, I actually have that on here. So normally I stop and down tools around about 6 or 7 o'clock at night. But you will see here, it's actually planned for me to do something to do with the LAC conference from 6 p.m. through to 10 p.m. tonight. Now that's because if I don't do it tonight or today, I'm in danger of not meeting my deadline, and that's quite scary. I find that very scary. So this is one that I'm delivering on Tuesday the 19th. So basically it's saying, hey, look, if you don't do it today, that's not going to meet your 2-week deadline to get it done before the 2 weeks. I have to say I've actually falsified that slightly, because I have actually finished the LAT conference one, but I decided not to tick it off just so that I could show it on this screen for you. This is what I was saying about it breaking things into chunks. So if I take that cohort 4 marking, I told it I needed, what's that, 1, 2, 3, 4 hours to do that, and it said, well, actually I can't fit you a whole block of 4 hours, and Abigail, you'll get bored doing 4 hours anyway, so I'm going to give you an hour here, 2 hours tomorrow morning, quick break, and then I'm going to give you another hour to do it again a little bit later. Usually it puts a short break in for me, but we were messing about with the system when we did yesterday's version of this presentation, and I took my breaks out, so it's now got rid of my 5-minute breaks. I might cry. You can see actually I've already done part 1 of that. I did it on Tuesday the 27th. I've got some of it between 8 and 9 tomorrow morning, and then it's broken it into those 2 bits on the Wednesday for me as well. The ones with the dotted line around them are where I've been invited to something. So Gavin actually has an account with Motion as well. So it's not a shared account. We both have our own accounts on there, but we have certain elements that we share between each other. And in fact, I can click his calendar and scare everybody, because it just goes bright green across my screen, because he just puts everything in there to confuse me. But these ones are where he's invited me to a meeting. I'm obviously not going to attend them, which is why they've got dotted lines around them to show that, hey, look, this exists, but you've not accepted it. You haven't accepted to attend it. It's just telling me that something else is going on at that time. If I had chosen to accept it and say, yes, I'll come to that meeting, it would actually put a solid line around it. And in this particular case, it would be clashing with that session that's going on for my cohort 4 webinar. You can block out whole days. There's a little calendar at the top here. You can change hours. So let's say it's Tuesday lunchtime and you get notification that your house has just flooded. If your house has just flooded, I apologise for bringing the fates down on you. I'm really sorry. But you get notification and you've got to dash home. And that means everything that's scheduled for Tuesday afternoon, you need to stop it. You need to go, hey, I can't do any of this. You can actually just click that and say, stop your tasks early, reschedule everything else for a later date, or start the tasks later. So let's say you get up on Wednesday morning, you've got a bit of a migraine, you're going to go in after 11 o'clock. You can tell it, actually, don't schedule anything earlier in the morning, schedule it a bit later in the day for me, and you can block out the whole day. So on Friday, as it happens, I'm not available. I'm actually going across to Scunthorpe to go and do something. So I've actually blocked out my whole day, and you will see it hasn't put any tasks into my calendar. It is still pulling across from my TES calendar to say, Abigail, you normally work on a Friday for TES, and here's your focus time for it. That's simply because I haven't deleted it from my TES calendar, and I'm actually working for TES on the Thursday instead this week, whilst I've got my car booked in for a service, because I can do both at the same time. How do I do all of that? Well, I do that in something called schedules. So if I come over here, I've got my schedules. So if I click this one, you can see my kind of normal working hours. This basically says if I'm going to schedule something for a work purpose, these are the times you can schedule them. I do have some of it that clashes with my United Learning time. I'll show you United Learning time in a moment. But usually it will go for my original calendar first. So it will look at my United Learning calendar, which I will bring up. So you can see when I work for United Learning, it will prioritise my United Learning ones first before it starts using it as my work time. And then I have one called prospective work. Now the reason I have this one is because this is when you can book a meeting with me. So if you've ever contacted me and say, hey, I'm interested in a CPD session, I'm interested in an inset day, and you get a link from me that says, hey, click on this and I'll let you choose your slot that coincides with mine. That's where this comes from. So it's basically saying I can have those meetings between 4 and 5 on a Tuesday, 9 till 2 on a Thursday, or between 9 and 4 on a Friday. So this works also a little bit like your Calendly if you use Calendly, or bookings if you've managed to find that setting within Microsoft 365, in that you can use it to send out invitations. So if I go to booking, I want to book a meeting with somebody. All right, so Gavin's just contacted me and he wants a meeting with me on Thursday this week. What I can do is I can create a one-time link, because he's only saying I'm only available on Thursday this week. So I could drag a time slot, I can come along to my calendar and I can go Thursday this week. Oh, okay, Gavin, I can do it between 7 and 9:30 a.m. and it pops it on this left-hand side here. He wants it for 30 minutes. I can invite people to that. So if you've got somebody that you need to make sure it comes along to it, it's going to be a Teams meeting. I could have a Zoom meeting or a phone call or a face-to-face meeting. I'm going to put it into my SENco Solutions calendar. You can actually see I've got multiple calendars attached here, but it's actually going to go in my SENco Solutions calendar. And I'm going to give him my clickable time slots between 7 and 9:30 a.m. on Thursday morning. So if I now copy that message, okay, so we've got a nice blank Word document. If I just paste that, it looks really boring. It's like, what on earth's going on here? Well, he said he wanted a meeting on Thursday. This is my available time. You'll notice that this is a hyperlink. It turns into a hand. So if I give that a click, it has taken me to a Google page, a browser page if you like, and it is saying, here you go, here are the preferred meeting slots. You'll notice they're scheduled for 30-minute gaps, because that's what I said, it's a 30-minute meeting, and I don't really want him to book it at 7:05 because that's really inconvenient. And it's also said here's a preferred slot as well, so 9 o'clock. It knows that I don't normally start work until about 8 o'clock in the morning, so 9 o'clock will be a preferred time for that meeting. So he can click on that, he can pop his name in, he can add his email, he can also add some additional guests to it if he knows he wants to add somebody to it, and he can schedule that event. So that is for a one-off event. Let's say though that you want to have a SENco surgery every week at the same time, where you're able to offer a particular set of slots to people. So let's just change that slot there to UL for a second. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create this one here, and I'm going to say show me the availability for the next 28 days. Only show me availability starting in 2 days time, because what I don't want is somebody to go and click it and book something for this afternoon if I'm on a Thursday. Give me some buffer time, so don't give me back-to-back meetings. How many meetings do I want in a day? Well, I don't want any more than 3, because I'd get really stressed if I had more than 3. I'm going to have my SENco workshop. It's only going to be 25 minutes long. I'm going to do it via Teams. I've got all of that. What I should do really is set up a schedule that says this only happens on a Thursday, because that's what I said to you a second ago. It's not going to happen on a Thursday. It'll only happen on a Monday, Tuesday or Wednesday for this particular thing. So if I click Save Changes, and if I now take you to that booking page, you'll see there's far more options. So it's now looking at my United Learning schedule. It will also look at my other schedules as well. So if I am that person working in multiple schools, or if I teach, it will look at my multiple schedules, and it doesn't give me time slots where I'm not available. So you can see here, I'm only available from 10:15 on Monday the 11th for 25 minutes, but I can't do anything after that until 3:45. And again, it's picking up that Tuesday the 12th, and it's actually showing that actually I'm not available after 10:15. It is not showing anything until next week, because I said don't show it for the next 2 days. We're on the Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. I only do Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday for United Learning, remember, on that schedule. You can see on the 19th it doesn't give me any options. It is giving me something for the week that's got the 20th in it. It's also giving me something for the week with the 27th, but it's not giving me anything in this week here, because that's more than 4 weeks away. And I said don't give me anything after 28 days. So theoretically the person can come along, they can click it, and in this particular case what I've done with this one, because I set it up previously, is ask the person, is there anything else you want to share for our meeting? So what do I need to know before we actually meet with each other? Again, just a really quick and easy way of scheduling meetings and organising that time. So it could be useful for your teaching staff if you want them to book a meeting with you to discuss certain students, or if you're supporting them with annual reviews. Could be useful for your parents if you're trying to schedule that with them as well. So that's the scheduling part of it. I've shown you the tasks part of it. I've shown you the calendars part of it. Where is the magic? If I just move to a different week, just so that I can show you something, I'm going to imagine that on Tuesday the 12th of March I am actually no longer available. Now anything that is in my calendar will stay in my calendar, okay? So this was put in, these things were put in my United Learning calendar or in my SENco Solutions calendar. Those things are going to stay there. They're not going to move. But let's imagine that I have got, well, I can see I've got a task here. It's scheduled a task for me on Monday the 11th. It's the first of 3 parts. It's also scheduled me a task on Wednesday the 13th, first of 8 parts. It's obviously another big one. I'm going to look at Wednesday 13th and I'm going to go, you know what, I'm not available. I am going to block out the whole day and I can't do any tasks. Let's just watch what happens to TMA05. So your hours have changed, tasks will be rescheduled, and oh my goodness, it's just disappeared already. Where has it gone? It will have put it somewhere, or it will have put it in a filing box. It's actually put it on Monday the 18th for me. It's looked at it and gone, hey, if you don't do this during United Learning time, Abigail, you're not going to get this done in time. I will probably have to manually drag that one. If I do need to manually drag it, you can manually override this. If I don't hit the tick button on this by around about 6:30 on Monday the 18th, it will automatically reschedule it for me. So don't be worried about moving things to suit you. Now I'm just going to change one of my tasks so that I can show you what happens if something isn't going to meet its deadline. So I'm going to go for this one here. I'm going to put it as ASAP. I need it to auto schedule it, and I need start date ASAP. So if I just go back, it is now prioritised that one for me. Where did it put it? It's put it into tomorrow. I saw it put it into tomorrow. There it is. Now I'm going to change that one that's got 16 hours on it. Let's find one of those really long tasks. Let's have this one here. And I'm going to say it's no longer April the 18th that is due. I'm going to tell it that this is due on Wednesday. And up here now, what you can see, my picture might be just sitting slightly over it, is it says one task scheduled past its deadline. Now if I click resolve, it brings it into the middle of the screen anyway, and I can see that this is due on Wednesday, March the 6th, and it's saying, hey, that's a 16-hour task. Even if I break this into chunks for you, you ain't going to get this done in time. The earliest you can get it done is by Monday 18th of March at 5:30. Well, that's a bit late. So I can tell it, do it as soon as possible. I can tell it to extend the deadline. I can give it a different date instead. I can ignore the warning if I want to. I'm going to tell it to do it as soon as possible. And it will then ask me, can it make shorter chunks for me? Now, usually it will only schedule chunks of an hour. So it will take a task, a longer task anyway, and the minimum length it gives you is about 45 minutes to an hour. Very rarely see 45-minute ones unless it can spot strange gaps in your timetable. But now it's saying to me, hey, look, if you're going to get this done, we might need to do it in 15-minute chunks. I'm probably going to regret clicking this, but let's go for it. So we're going to click save. It says it's, oh no, look, it still can't do it. I haven't got 16 hours between now and the 6th of March, but it has managed to bring it forward. So by using 15-minute chunks, I can now get it done by Monday, March the 11th at 10:30 a.m, which is a definite improvement. Let's have a look at where it's thrown it into my calendar. Yep, I can see lots of little chunks, like a couple of big ones lurking there as well. I've got this one here. Where else has it got it in there? Monday, and yes, of course, it says I'm going to finish it on Monday the 11th by 10:30 a.m. I thought that was my cohort 3 marking, but never mind. It is my cohort 3 marking that it has moved. It's been my cohort 3 marking to get it done by Monday the 11th, rather than my project. It's prioritised my project to get that done in time and give me the 16 hours to get it done by moving my other project instead. So it will shuffle things. If you don't agree with it, like I say, you just go back and you go, no, I want that done as soon as possible. Break that into 15-minute chunks. Again, I'm probably going to regret messing about my calendar. I'll kill Gavin tomorrow, don't worry. Oh, and now it's actually managed to do everything. It said, yep, if you split them into 15-minute chunks, I can squash that in for you. So you're going to be bitting and bobbing around different things. This would drive me insane, by the way. But you can actually fit it all in. And yeah, I have got 5 university lectures this week. I am not looking forward to it. I prefer to view my task list as a task list. I prefer to use, these kind of filters up here, so low, medium, high priority, or status. How do I want to actually sort that information? That's my preferred view. You can add extra columns. You can use filters, so you can say, actually, only give me the ones that belong to a certain project or whatever. Or you can show it as a Kanban. I don't like Kanbans, which is why I can't set. Personally, I can't visualise them very well. But all of my headings, so in this case, I'm looking at grouping by status. So backlog, completed, do not schedule to do, auto scheduled. I've buried it under something and put my head in the sand. In progress and not started. You can drop them into that, and you can group it by your workspace. So, who does this task actually belong to? Actually, you'll notice I don't put my United Learning ones underneath my United Learning. They actually go in my tasks private, which is why it always looks like this one's empty. It's a long story. You can group them by labels. Labels are useful. I was trying to think of a good use for labels when I was doing this yesterday, and I couldn't think of one, and then I thought of it. What you wouldn't want to do is put on this annual review for Frank. You might want to put annual review, set it all up, and what you would do is you would use the label Frank. And the reason for doing that is you could then use the search button to search for Frank, and you would come up with all of those different steps for Frank, rather than searching for annual review, which will bring you up with all of the annual reviews for every student, if that makes sense to anybody. So use your label to label it with the student name or initials or whatever code you want to use to codify that student. The other thing that I haven't shown you on this, and I can't show it you directly, but I can tell you about it, and Gavin has been playing with this today and he absolutely loves it. I think he wishes he'd known about it before, is that you can send the information from your emails into the program. So in this particular case, if you notice, these ones here have all got that lovely AI symbol at the side of them. That's what those 3 little stars mean. If you've been seeing them around everywhere, it basically means this has been generated with AI. So what you can see here is this one says complete driver's license. It's actually a task I have to do for a student. I need to check their driver's license, make sure that it is valid ID. I have actually already done it. Make sure that it's valid ID and use it for processing something. Well, how that came about is I was sent an email by this student, and it doesn't give you much information about him, so I'm quite happy to share that. So he sent me an email, he sent me his driver's license on there, and I needed to remind myself to do that task. Now, I don't know about you, once I've read something, I tend to tick it off in my brain and go, tick, done. And I forget to go back and deal with it, especially if it's something I can't deal with immediately. So what I can do is I can click forward within my emails, and I forward it to tasks at Motion. and it will create the task for me. Basically, I tell it where I'd like it to go. In this case, I'd told it to go into the United Learning student work, because that's where I kind of want it to appear. I want it to appear in that United Learning scheduling part. I don't really want to do it in my own time. And it actually suggests some steps for me. Now, we've been playing with this. Well, as I say, Gavin's been playing with it today. The steps are fairly accurate, aren't they, Gavin?
They're not bad. It depends on how much waffle is in the email that you actually get.
Yeah, I've got, I may be able to pick on one. Is that one? Oh no, that one's quite good. So Emma had sent me her work. She's asked me to check it for her. So I need to review the module, provide feedback, suggest the improvement. That one's okay. I was just trying to find one. Yeah, I've got one here. So scheduling a meeting with somebody, and it starts talking about creating a structured plan, specific topics and concepts, concerns about the course, and it actually wasn't quite what was being asked in the email. But, I would say that probably 90% of what it suggests for me to do is appropriate. You can create things in two ways. You can create projects. So a project is like an overarching thing, an annual review, and then you can also create tasks. And if I wanted to create a task, so Gavin told me yesterday it was grab a glass of water, and I want it to auto schedule it for me. I'm not really bothered where it puts it, but let's stick it under the booking and masters. When do I want to start it? I want to start it today. When's my deadline? I also want my deadline to be today. It's a hard deadline. You must do it. I don't think it's going to take me 30 minutes or even 15 minutes to get some water, but I will do. When do I want it scheduling? Work hours. There are no blockers, and it is not blocked by anything. So I'm just going to click create task there, and it has created me a task. It tells me it's scheduling it, and oh dear, March the 7th. Look at that. Time. Apparently, I can't have a drink of water until March the 7th at 9:15 a.m. It's there. And you can see there's a little red one there that says this task is scheduled past its deadline. So basically it's saying, Abigail, you've got no time in the next 2 days to go and grab a glass of water or have a wee. What you might also notice is that my TMA05, by the way, has now started scheduling me from midnight onwards in order to get that task done by the time it is scheduled to be done by, because I said I needed to get it done, and it actually tells me it has been scheduled outside of your assigned schedule to make sure it is completed before its deadline. So that's what the little clock means if you see the little clock appear at the top of any of your things. I think that is probably your best whistle-stop tour of motion. Like I say, I wish I'd had it as a SENCO because it has got so much in there that I could have used. You can put recurring tasks in there, so if you've got a teaching timetable, you could schedule all of that in, and it will help you to put meetings around that. This one here, you can actually see I can join the meetings from Motion, so I've not got to go and log into different systems, which for me is really helpful, because let's say I was going to attend both of these meetings, I can actually jump to both of those meetings from within one program. If I was doing it within Outlook, I'd actually have to change accounts, or if I'm trying to do it within Teams, I'd have to change accounts, or maybe one of them's Google, one of them's Zoom, and one of them's Teams. I'd have to jump between 3 different accounts. So being able to do it from in one place is really, really useful. Being able to block it out, I can share this calendar with people, I can put the bookings in there. There is a fantastic help section. The videos are really useful. There's a tutorial video down there as well. The team is really reactive, so if you have got a problem, you just message them and they get back to you. Sometimes it takes them up to 48 hours to get back to you, to be fair, but it really does depend what kind of question you're asking. And I have actually found that most of the questions I've asked so far, they've already got a canned answer for, or they have come back to me fairly rapidly on it. So it's definitely worth exploring. You can get a 7-day free trial of Motion by going along to their website. However, if you would like a 14-day free trial of Motion, you need to drop Gavin or myself an email, and we can invite you, and it will extend your trial. So you will get a 14-day free trial instead. Okay, so if you want that 14-day free trial, if you email one of the two of us, we can invite you. Don't worry, we can't see your calendars. It just enables Motion to know that you've been referred. And I have to be open and honest here. If you then go on to purchase Motion, you will be supporting SENsible SENCO because Motion have offered us a little bit of a kickback to go with that. So hopefully I have given you some ideas on how to manage your workload. I can't make the work disappear, although clicking the button and saying, hey, tick, finished, even when you haven't, is one way of doing it, or putting it in the backlog when you're waiting for somebody else. If you are somebody who is struggling to evidence with your senior leaders how much time you need for your job, this could be a good way of doing it. I do recommend that 14-day trial rather than a 7-day trial. I did my original trial on a 7-day trial and made the mistake of doing it over a half term, which was a big mistake because I really didn't get a flavour for what it could actually do until I was back in work again. So have that extended trial. You would definitely find it useful. And use it as a bit of a time and motion study. So you can go back, you can put things in there that you have done earlier in the day. I tend to go in it in the morning just to see what it is I'm supposed to be doing, and it does copy across to my Outlook calendar, so if that one happens to be open, it can be reminding me what I need to do. It does send you reminders as well. But I will go back in again at the end of the day, and sometimes I'll have done a task but forgotten to tick it off as I'm going down. I think we're all pretty good at doing that. So I will go and tick them all in one go, and that's why you sometimes see this great big chain of ticked boxes across my screen. But it really does show how much time I've spent on doing things, and I think that can be really useful for your like I say, your senior leadership team to see how busy you are or how long it takes you to do something. One of the things I actually forgot to say is if you are doing a task, and let's say you've scheduled it to take you 3 hours, maybe you're gathering some evidence for an education healthcare needs assessment and you've scheduled yourself 3 hours, if you realise partway through that task it is going to take you 5 hours, 6 hours, 9 hours, you can adjust the time on it to say additional time needed. And it will reflect that within the tasking system for you. So again, you're showing your senior leader that what they thought was going to take you 30 minutes actually takes you a hell of a lot longer. And that backlog button is just so useful for evidencing, yeah, I can't do this because I am waiting on X, Y, and Z. If you get X, Y, and Z to get their thumb out, I might actually be able to do it.
Wow. That was a whistle-stop tour, once I've edited, of Motion.
I don't think I covered everything, to be fair, but I think I've given you enough of a flavour to see what you could use it for and why I constantly sing its praises.
I think it was a really, really good demonstration of it. Just to say there are other products out there that you can actually use for this. And we're going to look at bookings next week. On part of the video, and there's also 2 other programs that Abigail's going to remember because I can't.
So I gave 2 examples of programs that were similar to this one. So there is Trevor AI and there is SCEDPAL. SCEDPAL, as far as I can work out, doesn't let you add multiple counters. That might not be a problem for you, but it doesn't sing and dance quite as much as this does. And I don't think it has a booking system in there. And Trevor AI is free if you're only attaching 1 calendar, which is great. And it is £36 a year, which is considerably cheaper than this, to be fair, if you want it to have multiple calendars. However, its AI scheduling isn't quite as intuitive, whereas with Motion, within 30 minutes of loading it up, I'd got my whole calendar in there for the year. I'd linked up all of my accounts. I'd put in half a dozen tasks and it was telling me what I needed to do, and the fact that I was actually going to be behind schedule by the end of the week if I didn't get my finger out.
And I love Motion anyway, so what I use Motion for though is slightly different to what Abigail uses it for. So I do the booking systems for all our partners and our sponsors and pieces like that. And rather than have it go to a Teams meeting or anything like that, I have it go for a separate place because you can put a custom piece into it. So if you've got a classroom that you use for having your meetings in, you can type that into it. It doesn't have to be a Teams meeting or anything like that.
Yeah.
Just to say that Motion is £3 something a week on average?
Yeah, so it's 62 cents a day, which is roughly about 50 pence a day. So I say, a cup of coffee from Costa is usually about £3.55. So you're looking at that kind of cost per week. However, in terms of the amount of time it saves you, it definitely saves me more than £3.55 worth of my time per week in just doing some of those things, even just the bookings part of it. And I know you can get free bookings systems, but the fact that it's all on one page for me is, and I've got complete control over it as well, whereas some of the others I don't have complete control over. It is just so useful for that.
So I think that's probably about it. And then next week, as I say, we will be talking about bookings.
I will show you. So we're going to look at the Microsoft Suite. We're going to have a look at your emails and calendars and something called bookings within there, because I think that Senko's got really good at putting on their out of office replies, but they're not quite aware of all of those other features that kind of lurk within there.
I love their out of office replies. Every Monday morning.
I hate them. 80 odd of them pinging back in. And I get them twice because I get the admin and I get them forwarded to my own account just in case admin isn't open. So 160 odd, hate it. So yeah, we're going to have a look at that. We're going to have auto replies. We'll have a look at bookings, which is a bit like your Calendly system, a bit like what I showed you on here, but it is free within the Microsoft Suite. You might need to talk to your IT team. We will have a look at the other features within emails, so things like snooze. The number of people I've introduced to snooze within emails, and they're like, what? And then they click it and they realise what it can do, and it's a massive game changer, is snooze.
But I will say this, you're going to enjoy the lovely 2 seconds of me completely messing up the sound system that's coming up right now. So see you next time. Enjoy the double microphone issues.
Bye-bye.
Bye. She looks cold. Welcome back, everyone, to another weekly Sensible Senco chat.
Is that what it is this week?
Well, it was a Senco chat last week, and this week is Sensible Senco chat. So it's absolutely freezing in the shed at the moment, or the studio at the moment, but we're going to do what we said we'd do last week, and we're going to go through some motion and how... It wasn't me singing for once.
I didn't sing.
No.